America, welcome to your Leo Nation, where we believe in and support the rule of law, whether it's local, county, state, or federal. I am the Chief Mark Garrett, talking to you again from the free state of Florida, my adopted home state, also the home of Alligator, Alcatraz. We're not talking about that today. It's just popped into my mind because of the broader subjects we're going to talk about. But yes, Alligator, Alcatraz, the horrible quote-unquote concentration camp led by Nazis. Again, I put that in quotes because that's what the left-wingers are calling it. I mean, by the way, which is a complete and despicable insult to people who actually lived, died, and some who survived concentration camps, not only in Nazi Germany, but other places. It's a despicable comparison. They should be ashamed, but of course they're not. I see it on Facebook. Sometimes I reply to these knuckleheads, showing pictures of concentration camps and what real tyrant, what real evil people did to people in these camps. And then, of course, I get crickets, no response. It's absolutely disgusting. And by the way, talk about Alligator, Alcatraz. The original Alcatraz, built in 1934, San Francisco Bay. What was the whole point? They built it on that island. It was federal property. They turned it into a federal prison in 1934. Why? Because it was surrounded by icy cold water, by incredibly strong currents, sharks. They didn't want people to escape. They wanted to know where these people were, wanted to keep them secure, so they have these natural barriers to escape. Same thing with Alligator, Alcatraz, but this is obviously just a detention center, just in preparation to deport people who came here illegally. They're going to be there very briefly in relatively comfortable conditions when you actually look at it and don't listen to Wasserman Schultz, the elected representative, talking about it being a concentration camp. Maybe he shouldn't use that phrase, but calling it cages. The same cages that Joe Biden used. We didn't hear anything about that during his tenure. Anyway, that was a side note. I'm just getting fired up here. There's so much going on. But again, on the topic of immigration, specifically illegal immigration, on the other side of the country, on the left coast, also known as the West Coast, we have the Glasshouse pot, marijuana, weed raid that happened recently. So much talk about that, but I want to focus in fairly narrowly on a couple or a few things here. First of all, let's just jump right into it. This I just saw just recently. Did you see this California professor? We'll find out. I got an article pulled up in front of me. Forgot where he taught. Is it Channel Islands or something like that? But we'll see. Let me get this article up from the New York Post. This is just too good to be true. And Anthony, by the way, don't put his image up yet, because I don't want the listeners, especially the viewers, obviously the viewers, to be distracted from what I'm talking about, because you can't make this face up. This is actually his face. By the way, I don't know if he transitioned to it from an actually more of a human face, but this is actually his face. I mean, you just can't make it up, folks. Regarding the fact that he is a paid professor and educator of our young people, and this is the kind of person that we're dealing with. Anyway, California, New York Post, California professor arrested for allegedly tossing tear gas canister at ICE agents during raid on cannabis farm. Again, this is the New York Post. Really good article. A California professor was arrested for allegedly chucking a tear gas canister at ICE agents during a raid on a marijuana farm, being investigated for child labor violations. Don't forget that, because we're going to come back to that and talk about child labor violations. Now, I know a lot of you realize that amongst these several hundred illegal immigrants that were taken into custody, certainly located on the property of this farm, that a number of them were children. And some of those children were completely unaccompanied. They were there without any familial contact. They were by themselves, so to speak. Can we say child trafficking? Can we say slave labor? Children who don't have any legal guardian, any blood guardian for that matter, ties amongst these horrible working conditions. But do we hear anything from the left about this? Not a peep. Jonathan Anthony Caravello, a math and philosophy, oh boy, I would love to be in his philosophy class. Actually, I really would enjoy it because I'm sure I'd be able to have a energetic and amicable conversation with the good professor. Professor at California State University, Channel Islands, was arrested by federal agents conducting a raid at Glasshouse Farms in Ventura County on Thursday, ABC reported. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley posted on X that Caravello was arrested for, quote unquote, throwing a tear gas canister at law enforcement. We're going to hold off on this image, Anthony. Don't put it up yet. Asaley said Caravello was charged with a violation of 18 U.S.C. 111 for allegedly assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers or employees according to federal law. The U.S. Attorney also denied claims that the educator was kidnapped by federal agents. This is a beauty here. On Friday, California Faculty Association shared, the California Faculty Association shared, that Caravello was kidnapped, quote unquote, by federal agents after protesters and law enforcement clashed during Thursday's raid. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about this. Think about, by the way, where you work, whether you are in private sector, whether you're in government sector, and you were arrested for assaulting and impeding federal agents. Do you think within hours or so that your employer would come out with a public statement saying that our employee was kidnapped? And by the way, without addressing the other allegations against the employee, or against you, do you think that would actually happen? Or do you think your employer might say, listen, we don't have a comment right now. We're doing an internal investigation and we'll have information later, as it's made available to us or as we discover it or whatever, blah, 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 some canned answer. But their response, the California Faculty Associations, their immediate response was, our guy was kidnapped by federal agents. If you believe that, you're smoking some of what these illegal migrants were picking in Ventura County. This is the disgusting culture of not only the California, we're talking about California, the California education system, education in quotes, of course. So they said he was kidnapped after protesters and law enforcement clashed during Thursday's raid. The Post claimed that this is the Post from the California Faculty Association. The Post claimed that 4 masked agents dragged Jonathan away into an unmarked, there's a typo here, probably an unmarked van, without reason, without identifying themselves, without giving the reason for the arrest, and without disclosing where they are taking them. Now, I want you to think about this. Unless the people who wrote this post from the education, whatever it was, association, unless they were there and witnesses themselves, they were eyewitnesses, I'm assuming they're getting this secondhand from Jonathan himself, the good professor. I'm making that assumption. Maybe there's some other eyewitness they're talking to or so forth and so on, or some quote unquote witness. I don't know. But they're putting this stuff out, obviously, without having conducted an investigation. Look, I come from an agency, an organization that is steeped in detailed, thorough, and complete investigations. And they wouldn't go walking around making statements like this until they actually believe they have the actual facts in front of them. However, a criminal complaint obtained by the Ojai Valley News revealed dozens of protesters attempt to obstruct the execution of the high-risk search warrant near Glasshouse Farms. The affidavit claims that Caravello was seen holding a megaphone walking along the yellow police tape, loudly playing a siren sound towards agents. Protesters then later began throwing rocks at government vehicles, causing large-scale damage, including broken windows, broken side view mirrors, and frame damage to the vehicles. By the way, at this point, Anthony, go ahead and put up the good professor's image. So those of you who are actually able to view the podcast right now can get an idea of the person who is employed by the taxpayers of California, who's actually out on, I'll just say a skirmish line. I think it's worse than that, but who's actually been accused by federal agents of assaulting federal agents. So take a look at this guy. This is the guy. Look, he looks more homeless than he does employed by anybody, which might be the case for the preponderance of educators in California at this point. Get a load of that mug. Anyway, as the escalation continued, agents deployed tear gas amongst the protesters to disperse them. Caravello was allegedly caught on an agent's body camera footage attempting to kick the canister, but missed. By the way, when you look at his face, I can believe that. I don't think this fella probably has the best athletic skills or coordination that we might come across with the average person. Caravello turned around, ran towards the canister, picked it up, and threw the canister overhand back at Border Patrol agents, the complaint claims. A Border Patrol agent, they're saying BP here, a BP agent reported that the canister was thrown at law enforcement and recalls that the canister came within approximately several feet above law enforcement's heads. You know, anywhere else, I say anywhere else, let's just use the good state of Florida as an example. If this were to happen, and Anthony, you can play some video there in the background if you want to, just of these lowlifes throwing rocks and other objects at the federal agents at their vehicles. If this kind of behavior were happening here in Florida, or you pick the state, not only would the federal, again, against federal agents, not only would the federal agents be taking action to apprehend these people, to investigate them, to present, possible prosecution to prosecutors, but so would local law enforcement. There's no reason that these people cannot be charged at the state and federal level. Because, first of all, you don't even have to be a cop if you have an object being thrown at you, that can cause injury. It's a felony. So if someone is throwing an object at a citizen or a local cop, a county cop, a state cop, a federal cop, federal agent, it's a violation of state law, period, as well as, in this case, federal law. So you would think that regardless of political leanings or what your opinion is of this particular raid at this pot farm, that whether it's county, the sheriff there, or state officials might be interested in saying, hey, we don't agree with what the federal agents did here, but you cannot throw objects at police vehicles or law enforcement officials or any individual for that matter, especially look here in the video, these agents actually driving away and objects still being thrown at the vehicles. It's a violation of laws at on every level. But do we hear about any prosecution from California on this? I haven't heard a word. Maybe there is. Maybe there is. I haven't heard a word. If you hear about it, you have some documentation, please go ahead and send it to me in the comments. I'll be happy to talk about it later on. After determining he was the individual who threw the canister, two Border Patrol agents attempted to arrest him just before 6 p.m., according to the criminal complaint. As BP agents arrested Caravello, they placed him on his stomach and on the ground. BP agent RC gave Caravello verbal commands to give law enforcement officers his arms, but Caravello would not comply and attempted to grab a Border Patrol agent's leg, the complaint alleged. As BP agent RC and other BP agents attempted to detain Caravello, Caravello continuously kicked his legs and refused to give the Border Patrol agents his arms. These are all violations of 148 PC, Penal Code in California. It's resisting, delaying, interfering with just that alone. If you are given a lawful order by a cop, you don't have to agree with it. It's a lawful order, you got to comply. And again, county or state officials could charge this guy with any of these crimes, but they won't do it. Caravello has since been released from custody on $15,000 bail with an arraignment set for August 1st. California State University Channel Islands released a statement following his arrest. Now, this is awesome. At this time, it is our understanding that Professor Caravello was peacefully protesting in a Protestant Act protected under the First Amendment and a right guaranteed to all Americans. If confirmed, we stand with elected officials and community leaders calling for his immediate release, the statement read. Again, it's our understanding, based on whose account. You have the federal government, multiple agents saying that this guy violated multiple laws. And I'm assuming, and again, this is an assumption, I'm assuming you have one person, the arrestee, saying, I didn't do anything wrong. You know, kind of like O.J. Simpson. No, he didn't murder anybody. My point is that you go to court to fight stuff because you say, I didn't do anything wrong. So they're going to side with the accused violator and not listen to the evidence that's been presented by the federal government. This is profoundly inappropriate for this group, this California State University Channel Islands, to come out and say this. It's our understanding that he was just peacefully protesting. He didn't throw a canister of tear gas. He didn't kick. He didn't resist arrest. He didn't do any of those things. He was just out there peacefully walking around with his megaphone. The California State University remains committed to the principles of free expression, academic freedom, and due process, and will continue to monitor the situation closely. Well, I'm relieved that they're going to monitor the situation closely. Listen, these people are so corrupt. They are so incapable of being objective. And again, all you have to say is, look, Professor Camarillo was arrested. We don't have all the information right now. Time will bring more facts forward. At this point, whatever it is, he's still employed, administrative leave, whatever it is. But they're jumping to conclusion and they are promoting their opinion that he did not do anything wrong. You know why? Because they fully support him philosophically, no matter what he did out there. That's why. Why is this important, ladies and gentlemen? Because this guy and these people are the people that many of you in California, and by the way, across the nation, under other systems of quote unquote education, are spending your life savings on to educate your children. Just think about this. These are the people who are educating your children with your hard-earned life savings, teaching them that what this guy did is okay, what he allegedly did. Federal agents said they served a warrant on Glasshouse Farms after it was accused of hiring and harboring undocumented workers. We call them illegal aliens as well. More than 350 undocumented workers were arrested in the raids at its location in Carpinteria and Camarillo on Thursday, the Department of Homeland Security said in a statement. Officials said that violent and dangerous criminals were arrested during the operation, and as of July 13th, at least 14 migrant children have been rescued from potential exploitation, forced labor, and human trafficking. Human trafficking. Going to skip down here. Glasshouse Farms is now facing alleged child labor law violations. Now, by whom, I don't know. I've been looking this up. I couldn't find it. Maybe you can. I want to know if California is interested in the child labor law violations. It just says they're being investigated. I'm going to keep looking for that. Glasshouse brand stated in a press release that they complied with the federal warrants issued and never knowingly violated applicable hiring practices and does not and has never employed minors. I want you to think about this. That's the end of this article here, folks. Glasshouse is saying they never knowingly violated. You talk about some attorney verbiage here. Never knowingly violated applicable hiring practices and does not and has never employed minors. Now, if what they're saying is true, I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. If they have never knowingly employed minors, how and why were the minors in those fields working? Because they were trafficked there. They were trafficked. Either Glasshouse Farms knowingly violated child labor laws, not to mention, by the way, immigration laws, hiring illegal aliens. But let's stick with the child labor laws. Either they violated the child labor laws Or they really did not know those children were working in those fields, which means those children were slave labor to the people who trafficked them into this country and into those fields. One or the other, by the way, maybe both, are true, have to be true. One or the other has to be true. Now, child labor laws. So just real quick, the penalties for child labor violation of child labor laws carry both civil and criminal penalties. Civil penalties range from $500 to $10,000 per minor employed per violation. Criminal violations are misdemeanors punishable by prison up to 6 months and so forth and so on, and fines up to $10,000. Point is, in California, the child labor laws are clear. They're on the books. How often are they enforced? I don't know. Will California enforce them here? I don't know. I hope they do. I hope they do. I don't know if they will. If you find out they're enforcing them, somebody let me know. I want to hear about it. What you think about this? Have you ever walked into your favorite coffee shop or, your favorite fast food restaurant, your favorite grocery store, department store, whatever it may be? And have you ever seen like a 12-year-old there at the cash register or stocking the shelves? I haven't. Why? Because for the most part, it would be illegal no matter where you live, without very, very specific and rare exceptions permitted under law. It's illegal. So I make that point because, again, I know it's a lot of people out here, 500 people working in these various fields, whatever. But you have to have managers and supervisors out there. I would imagine that this company has that kind of structure. And you're telling me that they didn't know, maybe they didn't quote unquote hire, but on top of that, they did not know that these miners were working in the fields. Look, folks, something smells funnier here than the pot that these people were picking. You can't possibly believe that no one in the chain of command knew these children were out there. But we shall see. So let me talk about this. A couple, specifically one of the fellas who owns this Glasshouse Farms, marijuana producer, founder of Cali Pot Farm, where ICE rescued dozens of kids and busted 300 plus migrants, donated to Gavin Newsom and other Democrats. Now, for those of you who may be on the other side of the political aisle, the other end of the spectrum, stay with me. Stay with me. Oh, here we go again. They gave it to Newsom and so what, so forth on. Just hear me out here. This article. Just hear me out. Don't run away just yet. And by the way, and for those of you who may be closer to my political philosophies and leanings, stick with me as well. Kind of interesting. So this guy here, and this is also from the New York Post, the co-founder of the pot farm where migrant kids as young as 14 were working, has doled out thousands of dollars to Governor Gavin Newsom and other local Democrats, records show. Graham Farah, I guess it is co-founder and president of Glasshouse Farms in Ventura County, the largest pot farm in California, which had been lauded as a pioneer in quote-unquote green, that is environmentally friendly cannabis. The jokes here are really too many. Environmentally friendly pot. And then, of course, green pot. It goes on and on. Got a picture of him in his weed farm here. What a great undertaking. Anyway, let me scroll on down here. So listen to this. ICE rounded up about 361 undocumented workers last Thursday. This is about a week ago, including 14 underage kids, 8 of them unaccompanied. 8 of them unaccompanied in a raid that turned violent after protesters clashed with agents, and one worker died after falling from a greenhouse. I have no idea what that has to do with the federal agents, but anyway, God rest that person's soul. Farah previously donated to various Democrat candidates and causes in the Golden State. By the way, shouldn't they call it the Green State now? Since they want to ban internal combustion engines, which they can't now because Trump quashed that. And they want green marijuana. green friendly marijuana. Anyway, forgive me. Including giving $10,000 to Gavin Newsom in 2018. He also donated to the Santa Barbara County Democrat Central Committee's federal PAC and Representative Salud Carbajal, Democrat California campaign finance records show. He was even photographed presenting an oversized check to local school officials for a scholarship fund, the LA Times reported in 2019. I don't know what that means. I mean, I have no problem giving to a scholarship fund, but Glasshouse has never knowingly violated applicable hiring practices and has never employed minors. This is a quote from the previous article. The farm's parent company, Glasshouse Brands, posted to X. So they keep saying this. I don't know if they keep saying it, but it's reposted. We are focused on taking care of our people and our plants. Farah himself said in an X post reported by Fox News before it was deleted. Yeah, I get that. He deleted it. We are focused on taking care of our people and our plants. To even put those in the same sentence, inappropriate. Glasshouse Brands co-founded by Farah and Kyle Kazan had a market cap of $300 million last year, according to business blogger Alejandro Cremides. Kazan, and by the way, I know a lot of cops in this business, retired cops in this business. I don't like it. That's just me. Kazan is a former cop and teacher, and the company says he supports President Trump, according to the LA Times. I told you folks on the left, don't hang up on me just yet. So according to this, Kazan, the former cop, supports Trump, according to LA Times. The company did not immediately respond to a request for a comment. It has built its brand on claims of using sustainable and ethical business practices, including low carbon, water sustainable farming methods. It's a saga of passion, perseverance, and a profound belief in the positive impact of cannabis on the individuals and society, Cremides wrote on Farah's career. The positive effects of cannabis on individuals and society. Look, I won't even get into it because I don't want to get too far off track about pot, but I'll just say this. I don't like it. I don't like the use of it. Obviously, I've never tried it, but I don't like the idea of it being readily available. I don't like it. The fact that it's sold here in Florida, I don't like it. I don't like it. But the federal government tells a different story, at least when it comes to labor practices. Assistant DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said the conditions for the children looked like exploitation, forced child labor, and potential human trafficking or smuggling while facing assault and even gunfire. Mexican illegal immigrant Juan Duarte Velasquez, who had a rape and DUI conviction, not a charge, folks, he was convicted of rape, was also arrested on one of the farms. Newsom did not immediately respond to the post request for comment on the donation by Farah. He did blast Fox News coverage of it, pointing out the outlet's ties to the Trump administration. Of course he did. He didn't comment on donations to him, but he commented on the claim that this one guy, Kazan, is a Trump supporter. Sure is rich, the Fox News and the Trump administration to point to campaign donations to Democrats, when in fact the CEO is a Trump supporter who donated to my recall and has given to more Republicans. The governor posted on X. Here's the take, folks. Here's the takeaway, folks. Let's say that one of these two co-founders is a big Trump. Let's say he's the reddest MAGA fella out there. The Trump administration raided his farm. The Trump administration arrested people for being here illegally on his premises. The Trump administration rescued minors, 8 of whom were unaccompanied, on his property, regardless of the accusation, or we'll just say fact, for sake of argument, that this guy is a Trump supporter. Now, where is the equal interest from Governor Newsom for all of the crimes that we know just from watching this were committed, not to mention the child labor laws that were violated by this company? Where is his action? Where is any Democrat elected officials' actions or statements regarding that? My point is this: regardless of political affiliation, the Trump administration is taking care of business and enforcing the rule of law objectively. I wish we could say the same for the Democrat Party, but we can't. And unfortunately, I don't think we will for a long, long time to come. For Your Leo Nation, I'm the Chief. God bless you. Follow, click, share. We're growing. We love your help. We love you as an audience. Stay strong. Take care.